Good morning. Today I want to read Romans chapter 12, verse 2, which says, "And be ye not conformed to this world, but transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." So let's talk about this. And it says it's going to be both good, acceptable, and perfect. It's going to be all three if you're renewing your mind through the transformation and all these things. But I've heard people say from more than one preacher, one of them being myself in the past, trying to explain the difference between being conformed and transformed. Well, first we need to think about, who is Paul writing this book to? Is he writing it to lost people? No. Though it can definitely help lost people. He's writing it to the church in Rome. He's writing it to believers in Christ. So he's warning believers in Christ not to be conformed to this world. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, I can use myself as a perfect example of this. There was a time in my life when I was following Jesus. I wasn't really, I just thought I was. I was deceiving myself because I was following after the lust of this world. And the things that this world loves. They're horror movies. They're media. Can we use media? Yeah, we can use media. Media itself is not bad. There's a lot of people I know that hate social media. And I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I use it because I can spread the gospel through it. That's where the world is. So I put the message of the gospel out to the world. But there was a time in my life where I would just be involved in everything the world was involved in. I was a huge Walking Dead fan. There's still a part of me that's drawn to that, but I say no. But when I was conformed to this world, I still had a huge problem with just wanting things to be about me, wanting to have it my way, being very selfish and very self-willed. And it was very evident in the way me and my wife had our relationship, because I would demand things. And I did it with other people too. I would demand things. I would guilt trip. I would beg. I would push. I would ask over and over and over until I got the answer I wanted. And it made nobody happy, including myself, because after I got what I wanted, I felt terrible for causing the other person to have to do something they didn't want. But I kept going back to it because this world, it's all about self. It's all about pride. It's all about lust. But when you are transformed, and truly transformed, it changes. Because there was a day where I came to God, and I said, "God, I'm not the Christian I thought I was. I need you to help me. God, I'm putting down all my sin. I'm just laying it down at your feet. I'm giving it up. Help me recognize sins as I'm going along. Help me get closer to you." And he did. Next thing I know, I'm getting rid of the horror movies and the video games that's got gratuitous violence and lots of profanity. Getting rid of the movies that have lots of profanity. And these were step-by-step things. But you know what I started noticing in my life? Those things that I would always want and coerce others into, I stopped doing that. I started wanting to know what they wanted. And I started taking more pleasure in pleasing others and helping others than in finding myself happy or pleased. See, when you have the true Spirit of God, it transforms you. You're no longer the person that you once was. You just aren't. And there's no way to really explain that beyond what I'm trying to do right now, and it's probably a very poor explanation. You see, I used to be very selfish, very self-willed, but now I look to see other people happy. And if I want something and I don't get it, instead of throwing a fit and demanding it or trying to coerce people or trying to guilt trip them, I've learned to be content, because God has brought me contentment. And all I need is Him, and He's given me everything I need. And even though there's times where there's things I want, and it may bother me that I don't have them to a small degree, I'm able just to keep walking forward, happy with what I do have. Being conformed to this world means to be lustful, means to be seeking after things. What happened to things? They rot, they deteriorate, they pass away. You get you a big house, well, one day it's going to be gone. You go out and get a big meal, well, after you flush the results of it down the toilet, there's no more evidence for it other than what may be sticking to your skin and to your flesh because of the fat, if you're like me and tend to overeat. But one day, this body is going to die, and all of that's going to rot away. There's going to be no evidence of it. There is going to be no evidence of our earthly works once this life is over. Some may last for a while. Think of people that are famous that had statues erected. But what have we seen in just the last few years? Even their statues are being torn down and taken away, and they're being forgotten. Nothing you do in this world for yourself matters. The only works that are going to last are the works you do for God. That's all that matters. So, if the world says, hey, we need pop music, we need this culture in our church, we need the lights, we need the music, we need the stage, we need to make it look like a concert. If the world's saying that's what we want to see and the church conforms to it, then they're not being renewed. They're conforming. And why do I say they're not being renewed? Well, because it says that we are transformed by the renewing of our mind. Our mind is getting more and more depraved as we age without God. But when we seek after God, He renews it. He gets rid of the depravity. He gets rid of the self-will. He gets rid of the lust. He gets rid of all these things and allows us to have His Spirit so that we can seek after Him. I've seen it in my own life, and when there's people that say, well, how do you know that God is real? I'm like, well, just look around and you're going to see God in the creation. Now, which God you choose depends on what you believe. You can either believe the God of the Bible, or you can believe in evolution or some other God. But I believe the God of the Bible. And the change I've seen in my own life is all the proof I need to be convinced that, yeah, He really is real. Because I couldn't make all the changes on my own. I'm no longer addicted to porn. I'm no longer smoking cigarettes. I don't drink. The one issue I still have is overeating. But all these other things are gone. And they weren't that hard to get rid of. Because God renewed my mind. Now, like a lot of people, there's still things I want to hold on to. And overeating happens to be one of my weaknesses. We're all going to have our weaknesses. We're all going to have our struggles. But for the most part, in this world, if you're having issues with drugs or alcohol or sexual sin or whatever, God can deliver you from that if you'll just trust in Him and quit letting worldly church, and I do mean worldly church, influence you. Quit letting it conform you to the world and trust Him to transform you, because He can do it. God bless y'all. Y'all have a great day.